Today's video, for those of you guys who are joining us, I am here and we are talking to somebody who has a little bit of experience with some Forex multi-level marketing in their background. Everybody meet Jake. Thank you guys for tuning in to another video. This is Jake, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his experience. Now, the reason that this is so important, and we're going to hear from Jake in just a moment, the reason that this is so important to talk about is that I receive messages from people who unfortunately have gotten into multi-level marketing situations, and they lose a ton of money, and they get caught up in this, and they think it's the only way for them to become profitable traders. And so I wanted to just kind of make a part 2 to this documentary and have a conversation with somebody who has actually been involved with one in the past. So guys, I'm going to leave it up to Jake to tell a little bit of his background, and I'll probably just kind of drop in my comments and questions as we go along. But Jake, tell us a little bit about your background, what got you involved with Forex. Was it initially the MLM or that sort of thing? I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, so absolutely. For just their behalf, I won't mention the name of that MLM because there are some very good people who are very helpful in that MLM. But the majority of it is when you join an MLM, you're basically paying in for their resources, and they explain to you that you can make very passive income while learning how to trade in the foreign exchange market. As I joined the MLM, about I'd say 6 months into trading is when I joined. I started to notice that when I did join, I was more pushed to sell than I was to learn to actually how to trade. And that didn't make me very comfortable because I'm not one to, it kind of felt like greed in a sense. More of, I would rather just sell their stuff than to actually learn how to trade and help other people learn how to trade. Sure. That was kind of the idea that I was getting from it, was I would be able to learn how to kind of master certain things in the market and become a profitable trader so that I can help other people.
Right.
Well, it didn't turn out that way. Right off the bat, I had to make a list of about 100 people that I could call to try to sell, and in return, they would wipe my monthly fee away, and I would also be making passive income.
So
there were kind of brackets.
So 100 people. I know like there's the different tier system in the MLM, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. So is this like early on, like day 1, day 2? Like how soon were you told to like, oh, you got to get more involved in this opportunity?
Day 1. Before we got into anything trading wise, they were told that I was told that I had to make a list of 100 people. So I actually got a little concerned, and I was like, so where are the resources that, videos, live analysis, webinar, when will I be able to jump into that kind of stuff?
Right.
And, basically they kind of put it on the back burner, and they told me eventually, but that's, they, at the end of the day, they wanted me to sell. So they literally drilled it right off the bat. I need to make a list of 100 people and do this, call this and that. And then when I call the people who may be interested, to generate the lead to them so that they could close the deal for me.
It's so interesting that so quickly they get you involved in the sales side of it. It almost like, the thing is, I've met people who have been in these Forex MLMs that have actually been good traders, or people that there's some sort of value within the group for learning about trading. So I don't want to say that everything in there is totally junk, and I probably would imagine you would feel the same way. But I think like the scary thing is that the conflict of interest of the second you get involved with this trading opportunity, learning to trade, trying to build a new source of income, and learning a skill that seriously can be something that is lucrative for you. Of course, there's a whole lot of work that goes into that. But the concept of the second you get involved, they turn around and try and convert you into a salesperson for their funnel, and start creating lists of people that you're going to go cold call and cold message is pretty shocking to me. And it's honestly very, very scary, because it's such a conflict of interest. You're here to learn about trading, and this is actually the funny thing is my editor Will. If you've watched the video, and those of you guys who saw part one, Will talked a little bit about his experience and how it was very much the same thing. Like right off the bat, the goal was to get you to, okay, you're in now. We got to pay that fee, so let's get 30 more people in, and it's like, you're selling people. We'll get to your situation a little bit more because we started here like kind of with the overall model or whatever, like the model of like converting into salespeople, but there's always like the build up. So in your case, I know from Will's experience, what he shared, he was in a place where he didn't like have a lot of money. It wasn't like he was full of cash or anything. It cost him like a pretty penny that he had to get involved. So where were you, and like how did you first get approached by the MLM? Like what was the pitch, and what were you like financially, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, of course. So actually one of my friends that I still trade with today, he's not a part of it anymore, but he got me into it. And he actually knew him from somewhere. That's stuff I couldn't get into, unfortunately. But he basically told me, look, like he's very, very talented at what he does. He's a very good salesman, but also he's a very good trader. So he could help us make passive income while we trade. And at first, I was optimistic. I was like, I'll try something new. Okay. But I didn't really know too much about MLMs and what they actually did behind the scenes. So financial wise, I was okay. I was still at my day job. And so I had cash flow coming in. It's not like something to where it put me in a financial bind, luckily, but it definitely, it's a pretty penny to join those kind of things. And it's also very dissatisfying when you don't get the proper education out of them. So there were some good videos, like you even mentioned. There were very good resources on their website and their webinars, but at the end of the day, like I've said before, you are pushed to sell. And for somebody who's starting out and maybe they don't have as much cash flow right off the bat, that could really put somebody in a bind, because it's like a never-ending cycle. Let's say that person literally has nobody, and don't get me wrong, I believe in anybody can sell, anybody can do anything. But if that person simply does not want to, and they're just trying to learn how to trade, but it's costing them that monthly fee every month, I could definitely see how that would put somebody in a bind.
Definitely. And I think
it's like $300 a month or something.
Yeah, I know it's like quite expensive. A lot of the different MLMs, there's a couple of them. There's some more prominent than others, but the main thing is that it's like you said, not everybody, you almost join this thing because people talk about like, oh, how this person, it always seems to be this person that I distantly know is making a ton of money in this. But then it's like, if you really ask your friend, and it's not your friend's fault, and it's not like I consider most people who get involved with this, they're drinking the Kool-Aid is how I like to think of it. They're kind of like, they're sold on the idea too. So they're just kind of saying like, well, the sales pitch that's like kind of pushed is, okay, tell other people essentially that you're making a lot of money, and that, or someone who's making a lot of money, and that will encourage them to get involved. That's not necessarily what they say overtly, but that's kind of like the lifestyle and the kind of feel of the environment from the people that I've talked to about this and people who have gotten caught up. And you mentioned that in your case, fortunately, you weren't like financially wrecked by this, but sadly, there's a lot of people who are getting financially wrecked by situations like this, where you have to pay, some expensive upfront fee and then every single month. And let me just put this in perspective. Most people do not have a $10,000 starting trading account. And that fee, if it's just $100 a month or $200 a month, that is a big cost on your trading capital per month, just to get over that hump of how much money you're making from your trading, to try and overcome. Like if you're not going to be selling the product, it's very hard to be in there and afford it. because you're not making much money from your trading, and you're not making much money from recruiting until you really get aggressive with it and start selling to everybody you know. And like you said, some people just don't want to do that, and they don't want to become a salesperson. They just want to be in there to actually learn to trade. So from what you've explained to me, and what Will has shared with me as well in the previous video, it just seems like what most people who get involved with this, unless they're incredibly salesy and actually really willing to put in a ton of work, they almost inevitably fail. And the numbers out there would back that up. The numbers, they're 99% plus people who get involved with this end up losing a bunch of money. And and now trading is the same way, right? Most people who get involved with trading lose, but at least you know that up front. At least you know up front. They don't tell you that conveniently. They leave out the fact that, you know, most people fail in MLMs and most people fail in trading, and you should know these things before you try and take a stab at doing them. It's possible, but very, very difficult. Most people will fail. So you mentioned in your case getting involved with from a friend, and you mentioned that neither of you are involved with it anymore. How did that end? And how did it, what was the realization for you that, like, okay, you know what, this is just not working, or, you know, maybe there's other ways to go about this? Like, what was your kind of realization moment, and your friends as well?
Absolutely. He actually quit a little bit after I did. But I only lasted a couple days, because from what I saw and the kind of community in the chat, it was kind of discomforting for me, and not in a good way. I like stepping out of my comfort zone, and of course you probably could back that up. That is how you grow. But
for sure,
it was a different kind of uncomfortable. I almost felt like, not that I'm better or anything less than them, but I did not belong there, and it just didn't interest me. It all came back to the selling and the constant nagging about being able to sell their product. And it was every day, my phone would be blowing up and I'd be getting a call. Hey, have you talked to this lead yet, or whatnot? And, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm trying to actually study the material to learn how to trade better. And so that was pretty much why I quit. I did not care for the community. There were great people in it. That's not what I'm saying, people-wise, but I didn't care for the whole community and the operations. And, you know, I think it was a week or two later, my friend came to the same realization. He's like, look, we don't need this. We have some resources. We have some materials. We can all three work together. And I'm assured that we will be just fine. As long as we put in the work, we don't need this kind of community. If we're going to join a community, it can be a much more positive movement where we aren't kind of forced to sell somebody else's product. And sure. I agreed with them. I said, that's pretty much why I got out too.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm glad that you a few days of being in there, that's a pretty quick turnaround, which is great.
I did.
Because a lot of people, you know, it takes them the months, and unfortunately in many cases it takes like, you know, a year of paying expensive fees and trying to make it work. And people, you know, the sad part is a lot of people get so ingrained in the culture of it that it's almost in many cases described as like cult-like, where it's like, you know, oh, we're going to all make it together. You just got to grow your team. You got to believe in yourself. You got to hustle hard and, you know, call 150 people a day and all this stuff. And, you know, not to say that sales tactics and sales is a legitimate path. It certainly is. But like you said, not everybody wants to be a salesperson. And that's definitely not what they tell you when you first get involved. Because if you've never heard of Forex, and then there's these people who are telling you, oh, this person makes 6 figures just from their trading Forex or trading accounts and that sort of thing. You as a newer person, it's natural to be like, well, it's my good friend telling me about this. It's got to be real. Like, I'm going to trust this and get involved with it. So that there's that big difference between what is pitched and what is actual. And it's good for you that you got out relatively quickly, because like I said, a lot of people, unfortunately, they spend so much time, so much money, and they're still like blowing accounts and not really like figuring things out, because they might be so focused on getting more people in their team or underneath them in the whole the shape there, that they're trying to basically get themselves out of debt and trying to pay for their fee. And I think, you know, a lot of people along the way, they get lost in the sauce and they basically stop trying to even trade, and they probably just stay, you know, trying to recruit. And, you know, you even see people talk about that. You see people saying like, oh, I just really embraced the recruiting side of this business. And it's just dangerous, because it's like, in your case, fortunately, financially, it didn't wreck you. But a lot of people, they get everything they can to get involved with these businesses, because it really does look like an opportunity. Oh, I can learn to trade and I can build a team and make great money. And, I think that they sell themselves on that for a long time. They can be in there for a year, losing money in their trading, losing money in their, you know, payments. And one of the things that you said that I loved is, and I agree with this, is, you know, you don't have to spend a ton of money to learn to trade. And I'm a big advocate for, you can really learn to trade completely for free. You don't have to spend a dime. YouTube is a great resource. The internet is a great resource. You can listen to podcasts. There's so many different ways. Experiment yourself, and you don't have to pay so much money per month just to be involved with it. And it's, I don't know. I just see it's a little bit of kind of like a mission of my own, and for a lot of people on my channel, to try and spread the word that you don't need to, if you really are serious about trading, you don't need to spend tons of money on these sort of programs, or you know, buy into a business and a business opportunity. And it's all just kind of like oversold and heavily under-delivered. Like you said, it's a lot less raw, good training material, because you're so focused and so pushed to become the ultimate salesperson and to get more people into your team or whatever. So I think overall this has been super helpful to kind of our research. Thank you so much, Jake, for coming on and just sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else you wanted to say about it before we go?
No, I think that's pretty much all I have. So good luck to you, and thanks for having me on again.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, and we'll see you back next time.
All right. Thank you.